Hello, fifth graders. Good morning and welcome to our technology class week 6. So at this point, we have been going through Google Docs, right? And you guys, you did the Shel Silverstein poems in there. You did your slime recipe in there. And so you started to really, hopefully, understand how to use Google Docs, right? How to use all of the formatting and the different how to change everything, right? Adding, you guys did like with the slime recipe, you were able to add in bullets, numbers, and different lists. And with the poems, you were able to change your alignment, making it centered or right align, left align. And you already know how to change your font size, your font style. You guys are becoming pros at using Google Docs or Microsoft Word, right? So we are going to move away from that. Of course, you're still going to be using Google Docs to type up a lot of your assignments. It could be a second step lesson, it could be a robotics lesson. So at this point, I guess my expectation is that you have a pretty good working knowledge, you know how to use it. If I ask you to type something, if your teacher asks you to type something, like Mrs. Park, if she asks you to type up something in Google Docs, that you know how to use it, right? And if you don't, then you should go back and review those lessons that we did in the beginning of the year and make sure that you do know how to use Google Docs, right? So I'm going into the drive now just to open up Google Docs. But yes, everybody should know how to use this, right? They know how to type something up, you know how to change your alignment, you know how to add in, if you need to add in a numbered list, a bulleted list, if you need to change your line spacing, underlining or text coloring, bold, changing your font size, all of these things, pretty standard, right? As you guys get into middle school, you'll be just using this. It should be like second nature, typing up a report or typing up anything, right? Okay, guys, so I think we can move on. I think it's safe to say we can move on from our Google Docs. Now, if you are somebody who did not complete any of the Google Docs assignments, that's really on you at this point. Everything is on our website. You have videos. So the reason I make videos is so that way you can always go back, rewatch it. You can pause it and follow along while you're working on things. It's kind of like the best option. I wish, obviously, me being there in person with you would be a lot better, but at least you have the video now and you can go back and you can pause, and anything that I'm showing you how to do on the screen, you can go do it on your computer. Okay, guys? So we're going to move on from Google Docs, and we're moving on to something called Google Sheets. So if you go into your Google Drive, you will see there's something called Google Sheets, and we call it a spreadsheet, right? So this is a nice looking spreadsheet. And gosh, let me think. I think we started using Microsoft Excel in like 3rd grade, maybe, I believe. You guys might remember back to 3rd grade, if you can remember that far back. So we use Microsoft Excel, right? That's because we had Excel on the school computers. But you guys might have Excel at home. But we're going to use Google Sheets just because I want to standardize everything and I want us to be using the same program. And everybody now has their Google accounts. So in the lesson, I'll be showing everything through Google Sheets. Okay, guys? So what do I want to tell you about Google Sheets? It's pretty similar to Microsoft Excel. It has all the little boxes, which we call cells, right? Make it a little bit bigger. So you see your columns, A, B, C, D. Those are all your columns. You have your rows, 1, 2, 3, right? And if I ask you to locate a cell, like for example, D3, you would go to D, your column D, you'd go to your row 3, and there would be your cell D3, right? So if I said, put the number 23 in cell D3, well, you would know how to find that. And you type in the number 23, right? Pretty easy. So with Google Sheets, I mean, you can just do so much with this, guys. People use this for their job every single day. I mean, there's infinite things you can do. and it's used primarily for data. And so what is data? Data is any piece of information. So like, for example, if I were collecting data on the 5th grade class, and I wanted to collect email data, what I might have, which I actually do have this, is I have a spreadsheet with student name, and then I have student email address, right? And so what do I have in my sheet? I have Sally, and then I have Sally's email, sally@gmail.com. I have Jimmy, right? And so I have my students and I have their emails. So Excel is a really great way to keep track of data, right? What are some other examples of data that we could use in Excel? Maybe I have my student name, except this time I have their address, I have their mailing address. Maybe I have the phone number for their parent in there. Maybe I have their birth date. I can collect a lot of data on a group of people or whatever it is, and I can put it all into Excel. And then what it allows me to do is I can alphabetize in there. I can put it in, like, say I wanted to put it in birth date order, see who the oldest kid is, the youngest kid, which kids have birthdays in January, whatever it is, I can do, okay? So it can really be a useful tool to help me keep track of data. Some people use it for budgets, which is keeping track of your expenses, your income and your expenses. How much money do you take in a month? How much do you let out in a month? Your parents might use this for that. So for example, maybe they keep track of all their expenses. They have groceries and they have their electric bill. They have gas that they have to get for the car. Maybe they have a car payment. Maybe they have rent. And then what they do is they keep track of how much money they spend on each of these things, right? And then what can Excel do? It can actually add it up for you. So just like a calculator can add, subtract, multiply, divide, get an average, you can do this with Excel. You can type in data and then you can use Excel to calculate whatever it is that you want to calculate. So we will be learning how to calculate today in kind of our introductory lesson. We're going to use a few functions just because I figured it would be a good way to start with you guys. But there is just, I mean, companies use Excel for so many different reasons. People might keep track of projects in there. So maybe they have some things that they need to do, kind of like a checklist, right? Maybe there's a party coming up and they want to keep track of all the things that they need. So they need to party supplies, right? And then maybe they need balloons, they need napkins, and they need to put how many they need. How many? They want to get 20 balloons. They need 50 napkins. You can change it. You can also format it to show money. So like if you want it to represent money. So like we don't want it to be $20, but you can also format. So there's a way you can format, excuse me, you can format your things to change it to show money, decimals, percentages. So as we go along, I will be showing you guys how to do that, okay? But so yeah, you can use it as a way to check off things. Okay, well, I already got the balloons, and how much did they cost? They were $50. So you can keep track of, if you could imagine, you know, on a grand scale of things, places that have to keep track of hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of pieces of data, information. It could be very overwhelming to keep that all in paper, right? And so Excel or Google Sheets is a really great way to help people in their life when they have a lot of data, because you can manipulate the data, which pretty much means that you can play around with it and you can put it in a certain order, you can calculate things with it. And so people use this in their life a lot. And so obviously you guys are in 5th grade, so we're not going to be getting into some crazy in-depth, you know, using Excel for any of these things, but we are going to just start using it for just some basic formulas just to get you guys to understand how to do it. So I already have this typed in, but you guys are going to have to type it in yourself. We're going to be using the sum and the average. So that's what we're going to be learning how to do. Let me make this bigger. So what you will be doing is you will be entering in some numbers here, and you will be learning how to calculate using the function sum and also using the function for average. So our functions, there are so many of them. So let me see if I can just kind of show you guys. If you go to insert function and you look up here, oh my gosh, some of the common ones that people use are the sum, which adds everything up, the average, right, adds it up and divides it by how many there are, the count, how many there are. It could give you the maximum, so it's the highest, the minimum. And then if you look down here, I mean, it gets crazy. There's statistical things you can do in there. There's your basic math that you can do. There's logic. There's a lot of financial things. It gets pretty crazy. And like I said, people use this for their jobs every single day. So this is we're not going to be learning all of these different things because they're crazy. But we will be starting out with just some basic functions. And you guys will get to try them out in your Google Sheets this week. And so let me show you what I want you to do. So I'm going to, I think the easiest thing, so what I'm going to be doing is sending you guys these numbers because I want you to type them in, because I want you to get comfortable typing in Google Sheets. So for example, formulas with Excel. In my blank, I'm going to rename this formulas, okay? And then I'm going to type here formulas in Sheets, right? Because it really is Sheets, but you could put Excel. And then you could highlight it a color. So if you click on your cell here, you can change the color, okay? And then you're going to start copying. So we want number 1, there's your first number, number 2, and then sum. So you'll type it in, number 1, that's going to be the first number in our equation, number 2, and then our sum. And you could highlight these different colors if you would like to make them stand out a little bit better. So I'm just literally clicking on the color button. And then so you have to click on your cell first and then click whatever you want. And then I might bold some so I could see it better. Maybe I'll make it a little bit brighter so I could see it. Maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger. There we go. That's my sum. So now if I put in any 2 numbers, so if I start with the sheet 23 and 35, 23, 35, I hope you guys could see this okay. Should I zoom in a little bit more? I don't know. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. It's at 200. Hopefully you guys can see. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is click into the cell where I want to put my sum. So where do I want my answer? In this cell right here. So then I'm going to insert function and I'm going to press sum. And then now what I need to do is you have to be very careful. So remember I'm just grabbing my mouse here. Your mouse has 2 clickers on it, right? So you always have your pointer finger, and it's always on the left clicker. There's a right clicker as well. But here in this example, you're going to be clicking on the 23 and don't unclick. So keep it clicked down and then drag it to the 35 and then press enter and it will add them together. So you have to make sure that you're highlighting both of the numbers, 23 and 35. Otherwise, it won't add them up together. So now when I click here, I know it's very hard to see, but here where it says fx function, it says equals sum of A3 to B3. So where is cell A3? A3 is number 23. And it's saying it's the sum of A3 plus B3, which is 35. And that equals 58. So it just calculated that for us. And if you notice, it took like not even a second, right? Because Excel is a computer program and it knows how to do all this. So you're going to go down the line. So the next one's 44 and 24. So put in your numbers, 44, 24. You're going to click on 44. You want to click on the blank cell first. Go to insert function. You want to sum. And again, click on your 44, drag over to 24, press enter on your keyboard, and 68. So you just did a second one. So you will follow through with all these numbers here. There's not too many of them. And you'll go one by one. You'll type in number 1, number 2, and then you will calculate your sum. And then you will be all done with that part of it. Then you'll move over on your spreadsheet a little bit over. And we're going to do average. So again, we're going to have number 1, number 2, and then average. So I'll have number 1, number 2, and then I have average. So again, if you want to highlight, just you can have fun with it. If you want to make it colorful, go for it. I'm all for color. Okay, make it a little bit bigger. So now we're calculating an average. So our first two numbers are 23 and 35. So I'm putting in 23, 35. Oops. So if you guys can imagine, so I'm clicking in my cell where I want the average to show up. I'm going to insert function and I want an average this time. So again, same thing. I click on number 1, 23, drag over to 35 and press enter. And now it's giving me an average. So the way that it's calculating the average is it's adding 23 plus 35 divide by 2 because there's two numbers. And the answer is 29. Okay. So again, you can always check right here. It shows you right here the average of F3 plus G3. So F3 is right here. That's 23. G3 is right here. It's 35. So you can always double check by clicking in the answer cell and then checking up here, and it will always show you what numbers it's using for the calculation. Okay, so you'll go down the line again, 44 and 24. Let's get the average of that, 44 and 24. So again, I click where I want my answer to show up. I'm going to insert function. I want an average, highlighting 44 and 24, pressing enter, and the answer is 34. Okay, so this is a really great exercise to get you comfortable using the sum function and using the average function. And if you can imagine, we're only using number 1, number 2, right? 2 numbers. But imagine having hundreds, thousands of numbers, and you can, in a second, calculate the sum, calculate the average, right? That saves a lot of time. And it makes life a lot easier when you're working with a lot of numbers. And so hopefully you guys, can start to see how this really can be so helpful for people that work with numbers, and especially a lot of numbers. So an average could be used by your teacher. For example, maybe your teacher is keeping track of, again, could have the student name. It could have the subject, maybe science test. And then it could even have math test. And then it can have all of the test grades. So imagine 93, 86, right? And then it can have, maybe somebody got a 78, they got a 100, and I'm just filling in the test grades. And what you can do is your teacher can get the average. What was the average science test grade? What was the average math test grade, right? And so this can be really helpful because your teacher doesn't have to sit there and, try to calculate it. Excel will just calculate it for your teacher. And so it can make their life a lot easier, right? So I'm just trying to get you guys to see how these functions can be very helpful for people in their everyday life, right? So whether it's even for you, you know, you can keep track of things on here if you would like. And so again, so we're going to be in the next couple of weeks, we'll be taking a look, we'll be using Google Sheets some more. We will be learning how to just really use a lot of the different things that they have in here. Because by the time you guys get in high school and college, depending on what you major in, using Google Sheets, it could be a big part of your life. You know, I remember I had to use it a lot in school to make visual charts. So you can make pie charts, you can make bar charts, line graphs, you can do a lot. So again, if you wanted to take the information, maybe you want to take those test grades and you wanted to make them into a visual chart so that you could look at it and say, oh, okay, let's see. Oh, wow, so our average was here. And what was the lowest grade? What was the highest grade? And you could easily look at a chart. And with a chart, it's nice because it takes your data and it puts it into a visual picture, which is quicker for somebody to look and kind of see the trend versus having to go look at a chart and look at all this data and all these numbers, and it can take them longer to figure out, you know, what's actually going on, right? And so again, it's very helpful for people. And I hope that you guys can get more comfortable using these functions and learning how to input data into cells. So another couple of things to mention with Excel, with Google Sheets, it should always just be one piece of data per cell, right? So like, for example, if I were keeping track of the test, right? And I had Sammy 98 for the science test. Do you see how I put the name and the grade in the same cell? If you do that, you won't be able to use any of the functions because the program, it cannot recognize the letters and the number together. It's not going to be able to differentiate, oh, that's a name and that's a grade. It needs to be in one cell per piece of data. So like name is in one cell, grade is in a separate cell. So just something to mention for you guys when you're using this, if you're ever typing up something, be very careful that each piece of data gets its own cell by itself. Because if you make a mistake and you accidentally put like number 1 and then you put like 23, it won't be able to calculate the sum because it won't be able to recognize that you have that number in there. So you do have to be a little bit careful with that. And I'm just trying to think anything else to mention with you guys. The same things apply with Google Docs. Like I can highlight this and I can change the font style. I can change the font size. I can do that for all of these if I want. So again, it's just really pretty similar features. If you want to make your columns bigger, you can click here and double click, or you can drag and make your columns bigger. Same with the rows. You can put your cursor and you can either drag and make it bigger. So you can really just do a lot of the same things that you do with Google Docs. Those same features all apply in Sheets, okay? The thing about Sheets is that it's all about data, right? So if I said to you, I would like you to type up a book report, you wouldn't type it up in Google Sheets because it just wouldn't work. It's not meant for that. You'd go in Google Docs. But if I said to you, I would like you to take a survey of 5 people and I want you to ask them, do they prefer vanilla or chocolate? And then I want you to put your data into a spreadsheet and create a bar chart. You would have to use Google Sheets for that, right? Because I'm asking you, and all of a sudden you heard data, you're like, oh, that's Google Sheets, that's Microsoft Excel. Anything that's keeping track of data or information, it's best for me to use Google Sheets. So hopefully this is starting to make sense to you guys. I really would love for you guys to grasp these concepts and be able to get a hold of these programs, because I know that it will really help you in your future a lot, a lot. There's a lot of people who they don't even know what these programs are. And so they're really missing out on how they can help in their everyday life. And it's probably not their fault. It's probably because they never learned this in school, right? So you guys should be so thankful that you get to have these kinds of lessons and learn all of these programs that are really meant for your future to help you. And so please, please go home and finish this assignment. And so you'll go into here, you're going to finish all the numbers, do the averages for all these numbers, and do the sums for all these numbers. And then you're going to press the share button, and you're going to share it with eastpca@gmail.com. That's me. And then you'll be done. And then you're going to go into your typing account. And right now you have 4 typing assignments. The first one was the assessment. Then you had skill builder. Then you had the beginner review. And now this week you have easy bottom row words. Okay. So please, I see only 58% of you completed the first one. 26% did the second one. So I think I need to really spend a few minutes reminding you that typing is really important. I know that we're not coming in the technology room, and usually you have time for typing during then, but we still have to learn how to type, and you'll have to just do it at home. And I know you guys have time. You can take time in your week, maybe set one day, 30 minutes of typing, or if you want to split it up, 2 days, 15 minutes each, 3 days, 10 minutes each. It shouldn't even take longer than 30 minutes to complete each of the lessons every week. And you're getting in middle school next year. You cannot be pecking at the keyboard. You have to learn how to really type, because especially with your teachers saying, type this book report up, type this paragraph up, wherever. If you're sitting there like this, it's going to take you like an hour to type anything. And that's such a waste of time, right? So that's why you guys really need to get better and faster and more comfortable using both hands on your keyboard. So please get these. I count this as your grade. So as soon as you're done with the assignment, you get 100 on it. So it should be very easy for you to get all of these typing assignments done. Okay, guys? So that is my lesson for today. I'll keep an eye out for your Google Sheets, and I'll be hopefully seeing 100% on these typing assignments. Alrighty, see you guys next time. Bye.